Hello there, this is Critical from Critical Media, just taking a look at the 2022, or should I say late 2021 release of the reprinted Silver Surfer Classic from Stan Lee and of course John Buscema. And what we usually do at this channel is give you an idea of what to expect if you ever come across this book in the wild. So we go over the exterior, some bonus material, art and plot points, and then a brief review at the end. However, this time around I'm just going to start off a little bit different. During the X-Men Omnibus video, I mentioned how since 2016, Marvel kind of developed this poor reputation for misprints. Don't get me wrong, every publisher could be guilty of that. But I just noticed in 3 different occasions I got burned by it, so just felt the need to mention that for a fact, this particular release is good. I did in fact compare it with my Marvel Masterworks. Yes, as you can kind of discover, I'm kind of a Silver Surfer fan. And also, I'm making this predominantly because I did get burned by the 2020 release where it was rife with errors. Just to give you a quick example, here we see a page late in the issue where, late in the series, sorry, where Human Torch is at the top, Mephisto's at the bottom, but this is a Mephisto-centric issue. They somehow pulled the previous issue's artwork on the top. I don't even know how that's possible, but it was a weird error. The good news, though, is that yes, they did correct things like that. There are other issues, but thankfully I did double check them. They're good. And just to give you an idea, same page layout, proper Mephisto at the top, proper Mephisto at the bottom. Thank you, Marvel. So at least we can get that part out of the way. In terms of the exterior, yep, we're getting that classic John Buscema cover. So I love that. I believe the direct market version is for whatever reason, the Spider-Man and Silver Surfer, where that it's not even in this book. That's actually from Silver Surfer Requiem, so I'm not sure why it's there. Your typical fare on the back, of course, with covers, not bad. But, of course, with the reprints of late, I've noticed, Marvel has been doing this thing with smaller fonts on the spines, but at least adding a character profile. So, at first I was not liking it, but now that I have a few, I can't deny it's starting to grow on me, so I'm not going to gripe them too much on that one as much. Besides, I'm just happy that they got the book right this time. But underneath the dust jacket, yeah, your typical title. They bringing that back, thankfully. On the spine, they did actually change a little bit where, yeah, it's the same spine font, but the different character profile. I actually prefer this one. And on the rear here, I guess because Silver Surfer doesn't have a symbol specifically, yeah, just him surfing the spaceways. So I'm all down with that, that's for sure. So definitely appreciate it. Now, for bonus material, you're not really getting much. You're really just getting some covers here. And the strange thing is you are getting these covers as you're reading them in bigger style. So I'm not entirely sure what Marvel is doing with that one. But I appreciate the interview. There's another one at the beginning. But yeah, I just found it odd that we're seeing these covers here. They're not even full pages, but hey, at least they're collected there. And we have at least one variant here with Esad Ribic. That was for the other Omnibus releases. So I appreciate that. Now, in terms of art and plot points, now, I guess for folks who may already know or don't know, Silver Surfer, this picks up literally right after the events of Fantastic Four, when Silver Surfer helped them save the world, essentially, from Galactus. But as you may recall, one of the, I guess, punishments Galactus handed out to Silver Surfer was creating this invisible force field around Earth so that he was stuck on Earth. He could travel at least to like the exosphere, but he can't actually depart further. So he's trying to learn his new planet here by just traveling around. And you can definitely tell that Stan Lee loved writing this character because it gave him an outlet to speak about society, just like an outsider's perspective on humanity. And, the blessings, but also the curses of our world. So yeah, just to give you an idea, he saves this astronaut from certain doom, and as he saves him, drops him off at the aircraft carrier, and yeah, they're just shooting him right away. And you get an instant idea here where he travels the world to Russia, China, wherever, and people are just shooting him. Hey, I guess it's the company you keep when you show up with a guy who's gonna eat the Earth, right? But yeah, it's this constant tragic hero angle that Stanley was going for, where yeah, he goes on these long monologues about he can never be understood, he can never be back to his love or whatever. One of my favorite images of Silver Surfer, this hands behind his back idea. I love it. John Buscema, you're awesome at this. because he can master that Kirby crackle and still yet have his own style and anatomy. Definitely appreciate that. And yeah, you get that concept that, yeah, he's just a stranger from a world that was doomed. They were a perfect society, but then tragedy struck and threatened their existence. Tell me if that sounds very familiar. But at least unlike that other character, Silver Surfer is given a choice where he can basically make a deal with the devil, Galactus. And that is a constant in throughout the series where it's very Faustian in the kind of enemies he deals with. He always has to make a deal, or somebody's trying to make a deal in order to succeed, right? And another one of my favorite images here, just a depressed Silver Surfer here, just doesn't feel like he'll ever be understood. And that's kind of the running gag where he's constantly trying to do the right thing. He's a character of noble heritage, right? He's the tragic Red Cross Knight, where he's always striving to do well, but the world just can't see it that way. He's up against an enemy who's invisible, so when he attacks them, it looks like he's just attacking the Earth. I definitely appreciate that because, yeah, there's always a perfect excuse for why the world will continue to hate him. So one of my favorite parts here, yeah, after saving this woman, just checking up on her, these cops break through the door and shoot him in a hospital. I just found that always one of the funniest moments ever. It would set me over the edge. It certainly sets him over the edge to the point where you could see how Silver Surfer's wrath can really change the world just as much as his, blessings and boons can heal the world just the same. But hey, that's a whole other thing, believe me. I can go into a whole introspective thing about that. But yeah, like I mentioned, it takes god level characters to really say something to him. And I believe Mephisto was introduced through Silver Surfer. Literally, the Faustian devil, he's designed exactly like that. Stanley really wasn't trying to be subtle with this one. But yeah, it's a character who's just constantly after Silver Surfer's soul because it's the most noble thing out there. And that's saying something on planet Earth with all these heroes of the time. So definitely appreciate that. And speaking of the times, Marvel was always of the zeitgeist, right? So I'll get to that in a moment here, but I just wanted to mention this super awesome issue. A lot of people know this one, Silver Surfer versus Thor, one of the greatest covers ever. I think they even make statues out of this now. But yeah, this is one of the greatest issues ever. It even has one of my favorite images ever when they're fighting. What's it called? I think it's when John Buscema is using that silhouetting technique. Yes, there it is. This particular panel. I love it. Silhouetted of Thor, partials on Silver Surfer entering this cave. It's so menacing and on point, and the dialogue is so excellent. Because Stan Lee really loves that thespian style. Not only does Thor always speak like that, but Silver Surfer does too. So the banter between them in this issue with the Asgardians, so good. Very on point overall. This was that issue I was mentioning earlier about, yeah, Marvel being of the times. Because we have the character returning, the Stranger. I mentioned him during the X-Men book, where, yeah, he's threatening the world. But you also have this other hero, Al Harper, one of the few people who befriends the Silver Surfer. And yeah, he knows the world's in trouble too. He's a scientist. But unfortunately, because of the color of his skin and of the times, nobody will believe him or take him seriously. So he just says, I forget it. I'm just going to save the world myself. Unfortunately, it doesn't go the way you want it to, but that's just the deaths of nobility, I guess, right? But yeah, very on point throughout. You're discovering it will take a lot for the Silver Surfer to overcome his enemies, just like it would for them to triumph over him. I love that angle, that you have a hero who's just that strong, that much more menacing to the enemies. So I love that aspect. Overall, this is a very strong package. One thing I will mention though, this particular release, it has thinner paper. So it's good and bad in the sense that it'll be good for your reading experience no matter what, but I understand you could almost see through it onto the other page. But that's very authentic of, classic comics. And also, I feel it's good because it actually makes the book overall thinner and easier to read. So definitely appreciate that. And yeah, another classic image here. You're wondering why Spider-Man and Silver Surfer are fighting. As a matter of fact, a lot of people use this issue as like evidence that Stan Lee didn't create Spider-Man, because Spider-Man's attitude in this book is way off. It doesn't, let's put it this way, it doesn't make sense. It's very paradoxical considering both their characters' backgrounds, right? But I guess that's just me griping, so to speak. All in all, I'm just thankful, Marvel. You did a great job this time round. I'm appreciative of it. And hey, it's not so much about me at the end of the day. I wouldn't mind hearing your thoughts just the same. Maybe you guys are finally thankful that they got this one right. Maybe, you'll hold off for something else. But either way, I'm just glad you guys stopped by. Hopefully I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, y'all folks take care.